Benjamin Laker is an expert in leadership, governance, and global affairs at Henley Business School, and he joins us now from London. Ben, this is a stunning downfall of the executive who was once hailed as the savior of the Japanese automaker. What's your take on this?
Yes, Carlos Ghosn, the cost killer, architect of the Mitsubishi Renault Nissan alliance and powerful conduit between the French and Japanese, one of the most important and successful business tycoons in the world right now. A significant fall from grace, as you've said, but actually I think a bigger question here is, why does this continue to happen to our executives? This is not an isolated case. We've had many before it. Just think about Philip Green and the BHS scandal here in the UK. If you cast your mind back a couple of years, you start to think about Fred Goodwin, who oversaw RBS and was effectively blamed by the UK government for starting the recession, the greatest recession since the Second World War. And there's a bigger question here at play. How are our executives behaving, and what needs to change to stop the next incident like Carlos Ghosn behaving in this way in the future?
Well, I guess that's the question. What is it that makes these big executives stumble, particularly in their final years of office?
Paradoxically, you find that many successful leaders overstay their tenure, and actually towards the end of their tenure, they fall foul of what many of us are aware of, which is hubris. We all are aware of the story of Icarus, who flew too close to the sun and his wings effectively burnt, and he fell to the ground. And that is the metaphor here of many careers like Carlos Ghosn. His career has fallen. It will not recover. And effectively what happens is, to those who are successful, they believe their own hype. They start to take greater risks. They start to overreach, overstretch. You only have to think of many political examples. Take your mind back to 2003, where we had the former President George Bush and UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, who overreached and significantly underestimated the repercussions of going into Iraq in 2003. It is not just isolated to business executives. Hubris can affect anyone who is successful, which of course is a paradox. They start to take greater risks, and actually they believe that they are infallible and irreplaceable.
So what happens next? Is there any way a career like this, of Carlos Ghosn and his career, can recover from something like this?
I would suggest for Carlos Ghosn, his career cannot, because simply it's about shareholder and stakeholder value. We will have to see now what happens to share prices and where they stabilize. But in terms of him and his career, what is the impact on the share price? And of course, that's the big question that these executives will be looking at the moment. It's not necessarily whether or not his behavior was acceptable or not. It's more about, is it going to impact share price? What do our consumers think? Does it have an impact on the value propositions that we build? Has the trust been broken with our consumers and our customers? How are we perceived in the marketplace? And only time will tell with those answers.
Benjamin, thank you so much. Benjamin Laker, they're speaking to us there from London, an expert in leadership and governance.